Volvos are so good to drive in the winter in Northern Ontario, and in this video, we're going to do just that with this, the all-new and very interesting XC40. This very new-to-market little Volvo has two very big jobs. First, the XC40 debuts Volvo's presence in the small luxury utility vehicle segment, which is extremely busy these days. If you sell luxury vehicles in Canada, you need to be at this party. And second, XC40 becomes the entry Volvo as the model with their lowest starting price. As a business decision, it is no accident that the machine which may court young new shoppers to the brand also happens to be in the market segment where many of them are shopping. The styling here is not going to be everyone's bag of chips, but there is no mistaking this machine for one made by anyone else. It's a love it or hate it look that reflects the typically understated Volvo styling approach, but may in this case just be too unconventional for some. Unlike most posh utes, it's not overly ornamented with chrome. The grille doesn't yell at anyone. It's not on enormous wheels with thin tires that can hurt the ride quality. And so this little guy Volvo is more original than flashy. It doesn't look like a glitzed out chrome plastered parade float, and it's quiet looking, and some shoppers like that. Even inside, from a mere glance, you notice that it's a little less serious and a little more playful looking than you might expect. It's more Mini Cooper than Mercedes-Benz, but unlike both of those, this cabin is more about the colors and textures and shapes than it is about screens and glitz and glamorized high tech. It's a condensed and energized take on what Volvo's interiors are all about. So if you want your luxury utility vehicle sopping with lustrous chrome and great big punchy visuals inside and out, this might not be for you, but if you like the feel and features and drive of a luxury vehicle, but in something a little more on the discreet side, more under the radar, then get yourself into one of these for a test drive. Is it big enough? Well, if you and 3 passengers are about 5'10" like me, then yes. Headroom up front is great thanks to the tall roof. You sit upright and alert and in command with good outward sight lines too. Also, I've got tons of handy storage for smaller things that I want to keep near me when I drive, and there's even a little built-in and removable garbage, which is like super handy and means no more spent ketchup packets in the cup holders. The scenery is nice, there's a lot of clever detailing, and the central interface looks super modern, and once you've put in the hours getting used to it, it works pretty nicely too. Also, I could sit behind myself without chomping on my own thighs, and while I wouldn't plan to stretch out for miles, this will hold 4 average grown-ups with snugness that's comfortable, not constricting. I had no issue with leg or headroom at any seat. These folding seat backs are concrete heavy and will likely break off any appendage that gets in their way, though thankfully they're also motorized for your pleasure, and they go down totally flat, which can help a great deal with certain types of cargo. And between those motorized seat backs and the motorized tailgate at the rear is a cargo hold that should do just fine with a smallish luggage for each of those 4 adults. It's not a huge cargo space, but the whole thing is tall and square, and that helps you make the best possible use of the space available. All said, it's less like driving an SUV and more like driving a small car that's a little taller and more easily boarded and exited. So think little luxury car with a little more room, a little more traction, and a little more cargo space, and a little more ground clearance, and you're in the ballpark of what this feels like. So how's it drive? Well, actually, that's the best part. And for a few reasons. If you're running around all day and parking over and over again and loading various combinations of people and things in and out, then you'll love those motorized seat backs, as well as a small turning circle, featherlight low-speed steering, and full perimeter HD camera coverage with parking radar. It is a parking lot ninja. On any drive, you're backed by just about every single safety feature available, including autonomous braking and radar cruise and lane departure alert. These work great, but not in weather like this, where the sensors and cameras are knocked offline because they just can't see through the snow. But my favorite thing is how it drives on snowy roads, and especially with my favorite Michelin X-Size tires underneath, and this punchy 2-liter Turbo 4 under the hood with 252 horses that don't have that much weight to haul around. If you're wondering, that means the XC40 goes like the wind. If you like, it is a little rocket. Choose Comfort Mode from the Drive selector to relax the XC40. Responses to your driving commands are slow and smooth, which is vital to safety in the snow. The The XC40 feels a little light and sporty here, but not light enough that you ever wish it felt heavier. Driving gently, you won't likely wish for better traction or a feeling of increased security. The all-wheel drive system does its job beautifully, and you don't feel it doing anything beneath you from the driver's seat, and it requires none of your attention. The brakes feel decently precise and bite hard from the first bit of pedal as well. It's all systems go for a comfortable drive, and in this weather, for making sure that you feel very well backed up. If you're a sportier driver, you will enjoy use of the dynamic mode when faced with a slippery, winding back road. Here, the XC40 responds more dramatically and intensely to your driving commands. The steering heavies up, the throttle goes hair trigger, the revs are kept higher for quicker access to the turbo, and peak torque output is always within striking distance. But beyond all of that, the XC40 in this set of circumstances feels like a proper driver's car because it encourages you to play, steering it with the throttle or brakes, or flicking it around with little steering inputs for slips and slides. It gives you the calibrations you need for putting a big grin on your face, and it encourages you to use them. This is some of the most fun I've ever had in a Volvo, and that's all just a button press away from it feeling exceptionally sure-footed back in comfort mode. Translation: when the weather outside is frightful, the XC40 can be as slippery and childish, or as steady and stable a thing to drive as you like. Other notes: the ride on rougher roads is sturdy and comfortable with minimal harshness transmitted back into the vehicle unless you're on something very rough, which can knock ride quality and comfort back a few pegs, and at highway speeds the noise levels are kept nicely in check. Gripes: the central touchpad interface can be frustrating to learn at first. The trunk release and backup camera are mounted at the bottom of the tailgate about 2 feet from the road, so they'll both be covered with salt after you drive for about 100 feet, and the fuel tank is a bit too small to handle a half-day's highway trip without arriving empty. Ultimately though, and especially if you live in a northern climate, I'd say this thing needs to be a priority test drive for you if you're shopping in this segment. Pricing from $40, and my sporty R-Design tester with some toys pushed that up to about $48. Thanks for watching.